Do you recall Hayley Mills? In the 1960s, millions of Americans looked up to this childhood legend. Her real life was far from the sweetness of her portrayals, even though she once enchanted the audience with her naive charm. One scenario that went beyond all bounds drove Hayley to the verge of giving up acting completely. Even more startlingly, she subsequently disclosed that her own parents were the cause of her life's detour. How could a Disney heroine have so many unspoken wounds? This video will reveal never-before-seen images and hidden facts. To find out why Hayley Mills is still remembered with both awe and profound regret, read through to the very conclusion. On April 18, 1946, Hayley Mills was born. And from an early age, her life was molded by one indisputable force: her family's artistic heritage. Being the daughter of renowned British actor Sir John Mills and gifted actress Mary Bell, Hayley's world was bright from the beginning, like a stage that was already illuminated before she set foot on it. She was no more unique than anyone else, though, so don't presume that. Her parents were the true stars, if anything. Hayley had very little freedom to do what she really wanted because they were so controlling in addition to being so caring. She essentially had no say in her job path as a child. Whether she liked it or not, her parents, who have a long history in the entertainment business, actively encouraged her to pursue acting. Director J. Lee Thompson was looking for a young kid to play the lead in his upcoming movie Tiger Bay in 1959, when Hayley was only 12 years old. However, Hayley won his heart with her innate charm and seamless talent, and she ended up playing alongside her own father. Due to the film's enormous popularity, Hayley Mills was recognized as one of the industry's most promising new stars. However, Hayley was too young to give a damn about box office receipts or celebrity. All of it was play for her enjoyment, but her parents had a completely different perspective. They encouraged her to keep going since they saw this as the ideal starting point for her future profession. Bill Anderson, a strong producer at Walt Disney, was greatly impressed by Hayley's performance in Tiger Bay. Her first major role in Pollyanna 1960 was made possible by him. She portrayed an upbeat orphan in the movie Who Made Everyone Happy. Hayley conquered the world in addition to making her parents proud. She received the Juvenile Academy Prize, the final prize of its kind, for the role. For such a young actress, this is an incredible distinction. Success came after success. Hayley was immediately given a unique dual part by Disney in the 1961 film, The Parent Trap. She didn't just act this time. She sang a duet with herself in the popular song, Let's Get Together, showcasing her musical prowess. In the US, the song soared up to number 8. There appeared to be only one path for Hayley's career, straight upward. She also made an impression on British viewers that year when she starred in the murder drama Whistle Down the Wind, 1961. She won the title of largest star in Britain, which is remarkable for any actress, much less a youngster. However, Hayley's relationship with her parents became more tense behind the limelight. Her parents became increasingly domineering as her career took off, making her feel smothered. When her father, Sir John Mills, forbade her from accepting the main part in Lolita in 1962, it was the tipping point. Although he felt the role was improper, it was a defining opportunity. Hayley dutifully obeyed his orders, but she was unable to conceal her remorse. She ultimately decided to rebel, just like a lot of other youngsters. Hayley moved to New York, the city of freedom and opportunity, at the age of 19, leaving her cozy, strict family. It didn't take long for her to generate some memorable experiences as a young woman ready to travel the world. After only a week in the big city, Hayley made the decision to make a change in her life. She first lost her virginity to a friend of her sister. She met Joe, an old NYPD acquaintance, one day through her sister. The initial strategy was straightforward. He would take her on a city tour. Hayley, however, had no interest. To be honest, she was worn out from everything in her life. Her parents, the Disney persona she had to uphold, and the boring, regimented life she had experienced as a teenager. She craved something different, something daring, something careless. She then made the decision to vent all of her pent-up resentment on Joe. What if, for a single moment, she gave herself permission to live differently? She made a silk nightgown, put candles in her hotel room, and invited Joe to stay the night, as though one romantic black and white evening would somehow calm her inner turmoil. However, Hayley discovered the following morning that what had been meant to be an enjoyable and freeing time had instead turned into a night of remorse and guilt. She wished she had never left home as a profound feeling of loneliness and hopelessness swept over her. She regretted leaving the only people who had ever truly supported her. Hayley Mills started to realize that the spotlight was not as bright as it used to be, and she was determined to go back home and put the past behind her. Hayley felt like a piece of herself had perished after performing in her last Disney movie, The Comedy That Darned Cat, in 1965. During her 6 years with Disney, she was one of the most well-liked young stars, but her career progressively declined. She had been unable to develop the way she desired because of her contract with the company. She then disclosed that being limited to traditional family responsibilities cost her significant possibilities and even undermined her self-esteem. Hayley attempted to escape Disney's shadow in the ensuing years, and The Trouble with Angels 1966 marked a significant turning point. However, when she agreed to play a part in the family drama The Family Way, her career took a much more traumatic turn. It sounded like a promising script. However, in order to appear in a delicate scenario, Hayley had to erase all traces of her childhood persona. She was initially excited and keen to show that she was more than a Disney child star. However, after a few emotionally taxing and demanding days on set, she came to the conclusion that it wasn't as simple as she had thought. After 3 stressful and demanding days of filming, Hayley suffered severe emotional damage. It turned out to be one of the most terrifying things she had ever experienced in her professional life, a long-lasting experience that deprived her of her confidence and drove her into sadness. Hayley Mills retreated from the limelight following that incident, leaving the entertainment scene for a number of years. Everyone knew that her career would never again be as successful as it had been, even if she made a comeback in 1981 with the British TV drama The Flame Trees of Tika. Over the years, she assumed a number of additional responsibilities, but none ever equaled the influence she had in her early years. When she made an appearance in Season 5 of ITV's crime drama Unforgotten in 2023 as Lady Emma Hume, it was a poignant reminder that a large portion of Hayley Mills was now in the past. The humiliation and anguish she experienced following her appearance in The Family Way in the early 1970s was one of the most pivotal and agonizing experiences of her life. But that incident also sparked a convoluted and memorable affair that she wouldn't truly consider until much later in life. Roy Bolting, the director of The Family Way, whom Mills met while working on the movie, quickly rose to prominence in her life. In addition to their 32-year age difference, their partnership was heavily criticized due to their divergent ideologies and ways of living, and Hayley decided to follow her heart even though she knew her parents didn't approve. The age gap and whether Roy was the suitable man for her were major concerns for her father and especially. Hayley, though, remained unwavering. She even demanded that Roy wed her. He hesitated for a long time before agreeing, but only on his own terms. In 1971, they got married, and for a while, it appeared like she would find the happiness she sought in marriage. However, reality was far different from her expectations. According to Hayley Mills' memoir, life with Roy Bolting was neither easy nor happy. Rather, she was imprisoned in her own house. Roy had a lot of control. He prohibited her from forming new friendships and wouldn't let her work on any movies unless he was the director. She felt imprisoned, constrained, and devoid of individual autonomy, unable to follow her own aspirations. Hayley eventually came to the conclusion that this was not the life she wanted, despite the fact that they had a son, Crispian Mills, who would go on to become the main singer and guitarist of the rock group Kula Shaker. In retrospect, she saw that she had neglected the early indications of discontent for too long. She didn't fully realize that this life wasn't meant for her until it had gotten out of hand. Hayley Mills made the tough choice to divorce Roy Bolting in 1977, following almost 6 years of dating. She knew that was the only way to recover her identity and her independence, even though it wasn't easy. She kept looking for love to bring her calm in the years that followed. She started dating actor Lee Lawson in 1978, a year before the divorce was finalized. Together, they had a son named Jason Lawson. However, just like her past relationships, this one ended in divorce. By the early 1980s, Hayley had made the decision to leave Lawson and live alone, concentrating on protecting herself and reestablishing her profession. She was adamant that until she found someone who was genuinely suitable for her, she would never fall in love again. Hayley Mills then met Indian-American actor Ferdus Bomji in 1997. It wasn't love at first sight between them. She was 20 years older than he was, after all. However, Ferdus gradually gained her affection over time, and they have been together ever since. Despite the fact that their romance was neither simple nor immediately enchanted, his perseverance and genuineness ultimately enabled her to rediscover contentment and serenity. Her sudden diagnosis of breast cancer in April 2008, just after turning 62, was one of the most trying times of her life. Although Mills decided to keep the information confidential and fight the battle in silence, the news surprised both her and her followers. The disease pushed her into a protracted, exhausting battle that was full of anxiety, hopelessness, and times when she thought she was looking death in the face. However, she opted for surgery rather than more conventional therapies like radiation or chemotherapy.
In addition to being a brave choice, Hayley firmly thought that quality of life was more important than merely prolonging it. She regarded chemotherapy as a nightmare far worse than cancer itself since she detested the thought of it so much. Mills acknowledged that she had to make the decision on her own with no assurance of success and had very little advice from medical professionals. Luckily, her decision was successful. She made a miraculous recovery, and by 2012, she had made a public announcement about her improved health. Mills resumed her work and took on new tasks after her vigor was recovered. Not only was she physically restored, but her soul remained unbreakable. In addition, Mills thinks that eating a balanced diet helped to boost her immunity and get her through the protracted and challenging recuperation process. Even though she has been out of the spotlight for a long time, at 78, she still exudes the grace and beauty that have long won her admirers. Following her glittering time as Disney's Golden Girl, she opted for a more sedate existence that was full of family, tranquility, and newly discovered passions. Fans still hold out hope that Hayley Mills may one day return with another iconic performance, bringing back a little bit of the magic from the past, even though she no longer makes frequent appearances on film. She has developed a new interest for writing, which now takes up a large portion of her time. Despite her earlier self-consciousness about her appearance, particularly her nose, Hayley has decided to accept who she is rather than get surgery to change her appearance. She and her younger partner now live a modest but contented life in their London house. No matter how much time has gone by, the adored actress, whose estimated net worth is $5 million,